Thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Scott Kirkin. I'm with 919 Marketing. We are joined today by Sam Polakoff, CEO of Nexterus. Sam, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sam, give us a little bit of background on Nexterus and why we've come together today to host this session.
Well, I like to say, Scott, we're the best company nobody ever heard of. We'll be 75 years old in 2021. We're a fourth generation family-owned business that's specialized for the entirety of our existence in helping small and mid-sized customers model, optimize, and manage global supply chains. And our service offerings have changed here and there over 75 years, as you might imagine, and our technology certainly has improved because we've been a leader in that space. But one thing that's been true for the entire duration, our calling has always been to help small and mid-sized companies figure it out and do better.
And I know this has been kind of a passed along generation to generation family business. I can't imagine that anyone prior to you went through anything like we're going through right now with the coronavirus pandemic.
I think the only thing that you might reasonably compare it to is the time period during World War II. And of course, my grandfather started the company in 1946 and the war was effectively over. So I don't know that prior leadership ever had to deal with anything quite like this. I'm sure they had their challenges, but it's been interesting.
So I guess, the overall elephant in the room question is, what is going on with toilet paper? Why are all of these stores out and why are people hoarding toilet paper?
Well, the short answer is that, and I'll come back to this, I'm sure later in our conversation. The good news in that question is that everybody in the world now knows what supply chain means. Before this crisis and the toilet paper shortages everywhere, no one knew what supply chain meant, but now they do. So in supply chain, of course, you study economics in school when you're a kid. Everybody understands the basic laws of supply and demand. When demand goes high, supply goes low, and prices go up. When demand's high and supply is low. Your toilet paper crisis is, of course, a derivative of the COVID-19 crisis. And the real answer is it's comparable to what happens when we who live in states on the East Coast deal with snowstorm forecasts. Everybody runs to the store to buy their toilet paper, their milk, and whatever else they fear they might run out of while they're stuck in the house. That's a couple of days usually, if in a snowstorm, a bad snowstorm. But nobody ever really envisioned being stuck in their house for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. So hence, all of those factors together contribute to your toilet paper shortage. So,
well, there we go. You have the answer. Obviously,
nobody flush any time down the toilet with that answer. So.
Obviously, a lot of small businesses are really struggling during this time, with not even being able to open their doors. What have the challenges been for you in the supply chain world during this pandemic?
Well, it's a good question. We've certainly had our own challenges. We've had a business continuity plan for our own company and our own staff, and we've always had the logistics, to use that word, mapped out in great detail on how we would operate if our building became temporarily uninhabitable due to a natural disaster or any other issue. So we implemented that plan and had never had to use it before for more than a day or so because of the snowstorms and ice storms and things that we're subject to in this part of the country. But we've been on full remote work for a month and it's gone seamlessly. Our customers are getting serviced in excellent fashion. Our productivity is high. And we're communicating in ways that we never have before, but it's all been good, and we've had fun with it. For our customers, there are customers who are, because of the products and the essential nature of their goods, are just going crazy shipping, trying to keep up with demand. And then we have other customers, quite frankly, are all but shut down. So we've had to try and manage through each customer's industry, their crisis situations, and try to help them as best we can with every aspect of the COVID-19 crisis.
Do you ever let yourself kind of think backwards to 15, 20 years ago and what would have happened had this happened then without, the implementation of technology that you've introduced?
It's something that would probably frighten me if I thought too long about it, because where would we be without the internet? And just the magic of having the internet-based the VoIP systems for our phones. We have a domestic call center and an international call center at our corporate office in New Freedom, Pennsylvania. Without the VoIP system and the ability to have a customer service representative participate in that call center from anywhere in the world, there's an internet connection, we struggle mightily to service our customers. But thankfully, we don't have that problem and everybody's happy.
That's a good thing for sure. I know we've talked a little bit offline about some of the companies, manufacturers that you work with that are used to producing certain material that have kind of had to punt, so to speak, in their production. Can you give us some examples of some of the companies you're working with that have kind of had to change the way they operate day to day?
Yeah, well, I guess the first one that comes to mind is a company in Baltimore that's a contract manufacturer, generally in hair care, the hair care industry, making products for the shaving, men's shaving products, things like that. And they've had to punt, to use your word, and now they're making hand sanitizers. So it's not dissimilar to what a lot of patriotic companies around America are doing, from GM making ventilators and 3M contributing additional manufacturing capacity to masks and gowns, to people that make normally liquors, wines, whiskeys, things like that are now making hand sanitizer. So I think it's a tribute to the spirit of the American workforce, the American citizens, to kind of come together and do whatever it takes to get the country past what we're going through.
And how has your business specifically helped those companies that have kind of changed their way, what they're manufacturing? How does Nexterus help them adapt to obviously their new normal?
Well, I think what's happening from our perspective, the part of the supply chain that is most important to those customers who are punting and making another product or have extraordinary demand for their normal product, which we're actually seeing more of, is handling the transportation aspects of it. Our company we're probably the oldest privately held company of our kind in America. And one of the things we've always excelled at in good times, bad times, is handling what I used to call the impossible transportation shipments. The things that nobody else could figure out how to get from point A to point B on time at a reasonable price. We've done that throughout history. I could talk chapter and verse of different examples, but that's what's happening now. So a customer will call us, they'll say, hey, due to COVID-19, I've got a truckload of hand sanitizer, and the trucking company tells me that I won't see it before tomorrow at time, noon, but I need it tonight. So we'll spring into action and figure out how to get it to them tonight. That's what we do.
Obviously, the unknown has been what's troubling everyone as we move through this. Do you have concerns moving forward in the supply chain industry due to COVID-19?
Sure. I think if you said otherwise, you'd be kidding yourself or telling yourself a lie. The thing that's certain about change is that it's always going to be upon us, and no one can predict what that change will be. I think it's also safe to say that COVID-19 is going to change supply chain strategies for companies, not only in America, but around the world forever. And what shape that takes is still unknown, but the thing that I like is that we get to play a role in shaping that future for our clients, applying our technology, our strategy, our know-how, so that our expertise can go to work and make this type of event less problematic for our clients.
Have there been specific changes that you've had to make outside of obviously working from home? We see you're an avid baseball fan with the memorabilia behind you, but what company changes have you had to kind of make and adapt to as we handle COVID-19?
It's primarily communication, and like every company right now, we're making good use of things like Microsoft Teams and Zoom, and getting used to the new dynamic of how we communicate with one another. So, it used to be if I need to talk to one of my executives, I'd walk down the hall, stand in their doorway, and let them know, hey, I need a minute. Today, I hit them up with the video chat function on Microsoft Teams. If we need to get together a quick meeting, we do it by Zoom, and we're still looking at each other, and we're still having the same level of collegiality and getting things done.
There are obviously other supply chain companies out there. What makes Nexterus different? And, from obviously, I know you're going to probably allude to the franchising side of things. Why is this a good company to look at, to buy into?
Well, there's a bunch of questions in what you just asked. So first and foremost, what makes Nexterus different as a supply chain company is that we are geared toward the needs of the small and mid-sized company, right? So we work with companies who have on the high end $1 billion in sales, but we've also got customers whose sales are $5 and $10 million, and they all have supply chain needs. So when we talk about what makes us different and special is that everything we do, our processes, our technology, all geared toward the needs of the small and mid-sized company. We want to study what the largest companies in the world are doing in terms of supply chain process and technology and apply it to the small and mid-sized company in affordable and digestible pieces so that they can try to get on a level playing field with their largest competitors. In terms of franchising, it's something that we're excited about because especially in COVID-19, and if you've been furloughed and you're a supply chain executive and you've got this expertise and you thought, gee, maybe I'll open my own business. Are you going to hang out your own shingle and become an independent consultant? Are you going to open up a restaurant? Boy, that's a struggle right now. Are you going to open up, another franchise, hotel, hospitality? Again, struggles, but mightily, as you know, due to the COVID-19 crisis. I won't say, a bulletproof company in terms of our service offering, but as we said a few moments ago, Scott, everybody now knows what supply chain means. Everybody in terms of our clients that we're pitching to who didn't understand supply chain before, they sure do now. And so when do people engage with a supply chain consultant? When there's a crisis they don't know how to solve, when there's an opportunity they want to pursue but they don't know how, or they know how but they don't have the appropriate capacity. We're the people that can step in and help them solve that crisis, pursue that opportunity, optimize it for the future, and then manage pieces of it for them on an outsourced basis. So if I'm a prospective franchisee, I'm really excited about the ability to use my expertise from the entirety of my career and apply it in a way that small and mid-sized companies really appreciate in how they are able to compete with their larger competitors.
Sam, I want to expand a little bit on something you alluded to there is, the unknown of something like this happening again. If you're looking for your next career to buy into a franchise system, even if this happens again, Nexterus is a place that, maybe not necessarily use the term bulletproof, but is a place that can thrive during a time like this.
Yeah, I think so. Listen, I mean, we've adapted We've adapted extremely well given what's going on in the world. So we really haven't missed a beat in how we're servicing our customers. I have friends who own businesses, clients that I speak to, people that are employed at different businesses, and they hear stories like, oh my gosh, our business is closed. We're down 90%, we're down 70%, 50%. And, knock wood, our business is, we're not burning the world up in terms of our revenue, but we're holding steady with where we were this time last year. We're busy, and we're being recognized as a national resource for the small and mid-sized company who really needs help, and we're grateful for that.
Do you think there's a silver lining in all of this? Do you think there'll be, changes in the way supply chains operate as a result of everything we've gone through?
Absolutely. I think the silver lining is, as I've mentioned a few times, everybody now knows what the term supply chain means. I used to have to explain to people what we did because they never heard of supply chain, or they've heard it, but they didn't really understand what it was. And you'd go down to the basic analogy of, well, how when you and your family go shopping at Walmart, and stuff is on the shelves and here's how it gets there. Well, now you don't have to have that conversation with anybody. Everybody knows. So the silver lining is that proliferated knowledge across the masses, not only in the United States, but around the world, makes supply chain top of mind for everybody. The federal government was talking this past week about appointing a supply chain czar in the White House. A lot of people liked that idea, some people didn't, but I was just excited that we were talking about supply chain management at the federal level, to have one person who can make sure that ventilators get where they need to go in the right quantity, and another PPE equipment. So As I mentioned a few moments ago, I'm excited about the future for our clients, for our franchisees, for our own employees, and the company itself, because we're uniquely positioned to help people grow with our technology and our expertise. And I think there's never been a better time to be a Nexterian.
A Nexterian, I like that. For your current clients, for the small to mid-sized businesses that are prospective clients, do you have any particular advice based on all the years you've been doing this that you can give them as we rebuild after this COVID-19 pandemic?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing that I would recommend is work with us or someone like us to help build a global map, so to speak, of their current supply chain. We'd like to put down in the computer system and a computer modeling application everywhere you have a factory, a distribution center, a warehouse, everywhere you keep inventory, everywhere you have a supplier, all your transportation strategies and programs, the things you promised your customers, how you see future demand, what new products you may be offering, what new territories you may be conquering. All of that goes into a model. And then what we can do is simulate the future for you and say, based on this COVID-19 crisis, to prevent this from ever happening again, we're going to make sure that you're not locked into a sole source of supply in a place like China. You know, maybe you're going to pay more to manufacture something, but you'll be in Mexico or Central America, and you'll be able to bring those things to the U.S. In sufficient quantities. But hey, if something happened there in that part of the world, there was a natural disaster, we're going to make sure that you're well prepared because you've got a tier 2 and a tier 3 supplier who are kind of locked and loaded and ready to go to help you out, so that you're not just saying to your customers, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. We don't ever accept that there's nothing you can do. There's always something you can do, and we want to be the somebody to help you do it.
Well, this was great information, and I look forward to providing some more education and detail to people as we move through this all together in the future. Sam Polakoff, CEO of Nexterus, thank you for your time and for joining us today.
My pleasure, Scott. Thanks for having me.